Okay, so let's move further. Let us start now with the how we can install the Android and Android Studio. So first of all, let me take into website. So you can start with the Google. So on a Google, you can search for Android SDK. So here the Google opens and you can write as Android SDK. So in the Android SDK, so you will be redirecting to the web page of the Google. So at the very first, you can say link, the Android Studio, you can click on it, which says Android, download Android Studio and SDK tools. You can click on it. So it will open the Android Studio page. So here you can see a download button. So here you can download the latest version of Android Studio. So after downloading this and after installing this, you will be redirecting to this kind of environment. So this is the environment you will be able to view that how the Android internal the coding of Android looks like. So after downloading it and after installing it, it will take another say half an hour to be stabilized, because it will also download the SDK versions, latest versions. And that SDK versions, if you want to download it, you can simply scroll down and you will find this page at the very last page. So this thing shows that the Android Studio IDE with the exe extension, which is of size 927 MB. And if you don't want to be installer, you can also download a zip. So that zip will be downloaded and you can simply just extract it and ready to use. So there is no need to install the separate, you can say, Android Studio. So that has a the size of approximate 1 GB. So you can download it according to your the operating system size. So if you are using Windows 64-bit, you can simply use these two links, any of the two links. If you are using Windows 32-bit, so you can download this 32-bit. Although 64-bit also supports 32-bit versions, but it will be recommended that if your system supports 64-bit, so you can download any one of them, either exe or a zip. And if you are on a Mac or a Linux, you can download the corresponding the files. So these are some of the things. So these are the requirements. So minimum requirement for a Windows. So since my system is on Windows, so I will definitely tell you about the Windows. So minimum version is Windows 7. So Windows 7 and above with 32 or 60-bit architectures, that is actually minimum supportable by the Windows of this Android Studio. And minimum of 3 GB RAM is required. Up to actually it is recommended as it should be of 8 GB RAM, but if your system is having 4 GB of RAM, it will able to run, but it will not give you a much better performance as the 8 GB variant gives you. So in this we have an Android emulator where you can run your Android code. So that emulator runs on you can say a virtual memory. So that virtual memory is actually a your RAM. So that RAM will be occupied as 1 GB for running the Android emulator only. And we have to get approximately 2 GB of disk space for having this big installer. And 4 GB is recommended with the division as 500 MB for IDE and 1.5 GB of Android SDK and some emulator system images. And we have to support approximately with the minimum resolution of 1280 by 800 pixels. So this is the minimum requirement for the Windows. So same with the Mac. If somebody is running on a Mac machine, so this is a minimum requirement, and for the Linux also. So this is the minimum requirement for the Linux. So if anybody is having a minimum of this thing, so that person will be able to run the Android Studio with no doubt. So as you have a link, so at the very first page of this thing, so after downloading this and after installation, it will take another say half an hour. So for the Android SDK tools and emulators and every other thing. After that, you will be having this kind of icon at the taskbar. So simply click on it. So this will enable. So here you can see a small icon at the taskbar. So after clicking on the taskbar, so this Android Studio will be able to run. So Android Studio after the installation, so this is the first screen that you will be able to view. So what is the Android version? That Android Studio, so you are having a 3.2.1, and you can simply start with the new project. And after that, if you want to import the existing project, you can open the existing project, and you can check the version control and any other thing. So you can also configure as a SDK manager. So software development kit manager is there. So what version you want to make your own application. So that application should support Android, KitKat, Lollipop, Marshmallow, Nougat, Oreo, or any Pie version. So that corresponding SDK version will able to download that particular API version for that. So if you want that it should that your app will be able to run on a latest version of Android, so simply run the Android SDK. So here I will show you that how it looks like. So after clicking on the Android SDK platform, so here the all of the you can see that the API levels will be displayed. So here I have installed Android Marshmallow. As you can see here, it is checked Android Nougat as 7.1.1 and Android version as 8.1 as a Oreo. So I have installed three Android images in this Android SDK. So you can start with the Android 9 also. So with the latest API, you can run the latest code which are there, or you can say you can run the latest libraries which are there for the Android Pie. So after installing all the things, so we can simply start with the Android Studio. So simply clicking on the start with the Android Studio, just click over there. So this new, you can say a window will be opened. Here you can see that we have application name. So here you can suggest the application name. So suppose if I want to have a application name as NITTR underscore test. So this is my application name will be displayed after installation at as a text below the icon. So here is the company domain. So company domain should start with the com dot example, or you can say suggest any of the keyword. So example dot say NITTR. So this is actually a domain which is a company oriented. So suppose if the domain is like google.com, so it's like the how the google.com will be able to search over the internet. So it's not like it will go for a name by the name Google and it will go into a domain of com. So the whole URL will be crawled from a backwards. So com, then Google, then www. So here you can see that we have to put com.example.NITTR. So this is a domain that we have to develop our app in a commercial website, or you can say a commercial app. So com is there, dot example. So a domain is specified as an example, and inside the domain we have a domain name as our own domain name as NITTR. And after suggesting this domain name and after suggesting the application name, we should also look into the project location. So this project location should not contain any white spaces, because whenever there is a white space, so the application will not be able to run. After having all the three things, you can click next, and you will be redirected to another page as this thing. So it will ask you about the target Android devices. So here you can see that we have a different Android devices. So first of all, you have to suggest the crux of Android, that which application runs on which platform. So if it is oriented towards a smartphone or a tablet, you can simply check on this. If it is on a Wear OS, that is a smartphone watch, so you can simply check on this. If it is a Android TV based application, you can simply check on this. Android Auto, as in the we can see as automobile in many of the cars, we have Android Auto SDK installed. So if the application is regarding that, you can simply tick on this. Or Android things. So Android things is kind of a IoT, that is Internet of Things. So if the device is supporting the IoT, so you can simply run that hardware on the Android. So the motive of this session is to create application on a smartphone only. So we are now able to just tick on this smartphone and tablet, and after that we have to select the minimum version. So that minimum version of that, as you can see here, is a API 14. So API 14 supports Android 4.0, which is actually a ice cream sandwich. So that's a name code for a Android 4. So here you can see that the minimum, if you select the minimum version, so that means beyond 14, or you can say 13 below or 14 below, so that application will not be able to support those devices. So if you select as Android API version 20, so what it means, so below 20, so that application will not support those devices which are running on Android, you can say KitKat, Jelly Bean, or Ice Cream Sandwich. So we have to start with the minimum version because we want to support our application in n number of devices. And after that, selecting this minimum version, you can simply click on the next button. So here you can see different views. So first views is called basic activity, bottom navigation activity. So this is kind of a screenshot which is available to you. So this kind of a screenshot will be applied according to your need. So if you want this floating button, so you can start with the basic activity. If you want a navigation at the bottom, you can start with the navigation property. And if you want nothing or to be clean, very clean, you can start with the empty activity. And after scrolling down, we have other activities also. Fragment with the view model, full screen activity, Google AdMob activity. If you want to push ads inside the application, you can use the AdMob activity, or you can use a Google Maps activity if you want maps to be loaded on a Android. So moving down, we also have a login activity where the user and password fields and with the button already there. So there is no need to code how this output should like. So simply use this thing and ready to go. We have also master detail flow, navigation drawer. So simply scrolling from outwards left to the middle towards the right. So we have a navigation drawer. So if you want this feature to be enabled in the Android, so simply use this activity. We have also have scrolling activity and settings activity. We having last activity name as tab activity. So since as a beginner, so I will not suggesting that you can use any one of them, but you can start with the empty activity. So selecting with the empty activity, you can click next. And after next, so these are the two files will be created with the name as the name suggested. So first name is called activity name. So that activity name is here the name as suggested by default is as a main activity. So this main activity has the extension of .java. So here you can see that the activity that is the first activity name will be main activity, and the layout name, that layout name is actually a UI for the main activity. So how the UI looks like. So here you can see here. So this is a kind of a UI. So the widgets you want to add, buttons, radio buttons, check boxes, any other thing you want to add in this, that will be contained in the layout. So that layout has a name as activity main, which has a link with the main activity. So this main activity will be having extension as .java, and main activity underscore main, that is a layout name having extension of .xml, because we have to code the front end in a XML format. And after, if you want to change some main activity with some other name, or layout name with some other name, you can do that also. And after adjusting the name and layout name, you can just simply click finish. So after clicking finish, so it will take hardly a minute to open the environment. So here you can see at the bottom, so it is running two processes at the back end. So let's take a pause so that it should stable. So here it is saying that some this Android underscore test, that is our project, is running, and some configuration building is there. So once it is get stable, we will start with the coding. So let's take another 15 to 20 seconds to get stable. So yes, so here you can see that Android is now stable. So here it is running again. So for running, so here you can see that the build is successful. So there is no, you can say, errors so far. So here you can see that at the left side, So here you can see at the left side, we have a project structure. So how the structures looks like. So inside there is a root folder name as app. Inside app we have three, you can say, folders. First name is called Java, where the Java code will be there. Second one is the test. So output of the this whole the program, and the resources where we will write our code as a, you can say, in the XML format. If you want that the resource folder is in having some icons or some, you can say, layouts. So all of the things are considered under a resource folder. RES for resource folder. We have also a folder name as manifest. So this is actually a heart of your the Android app. So if you can recall it, so let me first increase the font so you can able to view it. So I hope you can see this Android manifest.xml. So here you can see that this is the format of XML. So if anyone is having a small knowledge about how the XML looks like and what are the codes or how we can write the XML, so that person is able to grasp easily. So other persons, I can suggest that you can go with the documentation of XML, the how we can write and how the XML will be able to read and write our own, you can say, coding. So here you can see that we are starting with the XML. So we have to start with the XML tag and ending with the XML tag. Inside the XML tag, we have a attributes name as version and encoding. So inside the version, so here version name as 1.0. So we are using XML version 1.0 and encoding as UTF-8. So pure English without any of the, you can say, any of the characters there. Here we can see also have a manifest tag name. So inside a manifest tag name, so we have another tag name as application. Inside the application, we have different attributes which are corresponding to some, you can say, icon with the label, with the round icon, with the theme you want to associate the over the application, and the activity name. So that activity inside the application, we may have different activities because we have to navigate from one activity to another activity. So that entry, so how many activities are there, what is the name of activity, and that activity correspond to the main activity or not. So we have to write all of the activity, you can say, tags inside the application tag. So here you can see that we have only one activity name as main activity. So we have to start a tag with the activity and the name as dot main activity. So dot main activity means, so this dot means we are actually going with the package name. So here we have package name as nittr.example.com. So this is our, you can say, a package name, whole package name. So this is also associated with the Java only, because the packages are the inbuilt features in the Java. So I will suggest you that just go with to the package, how the packages are declared inside the Java. So after that, you will be able to know the package, what is a package. So here is saying that dot main activity. So this is actually a Java file. So dot main activity suggests that it will suffix all the package name. So this is a package name dot main activity. So here it is a main activity. After that, the main activity should be main, which is actually a primary launcher. So whenever the application launches, the first activity should be opened up. It should be a kind of a launcher. So if it is not a launcher, that will be that you can say a front end, or that activity will not be launched. So if you want to launch as a main activity, just simply write as a launcher with the file name, or you can say just with the class name as a main activity. So this is a, you can say, a heart of the Android manifest or XML. So the Android app should know, so how many activities are there, what are the different services or the different things which are there inside the application, what is the API version and every other thing which is there. So all the things are included inside this. So after having updating the Android manifest.xml, we can move to the XML that is regarding the layout or the main activity.java. So inside the main activity.java file, so we have a package name. So we may have different Java files in the same folder. So if we want to pass one variable value from one file to another file, so we have to make a package. So this is a first, you can say, a line which has to be there in each of the Java files. So package with the package name. So this package name should be same. So this package name, after having this thing, so we can also import the libraries. So library name is Android.sport v7 app compact activity. So app compact activity is kind of a, you can say, a class which extends. So this extends means it is inheriting the properties of app compact activity in the main activity. So main activity is actually a derived class of a app compact activity. So here in this we have a function name as onCreate with this thing. So onCreate function is kind of a main function of a main activity. So here you can see that on in the onCreate function we have a super class. So through which we can just pass the whole bundle instance to the upper class. So upper class is kind of a base class. So we can also pass the values from a derived class to the base class using super keyword and on create, that is a function inside the main, that is a base class. So after that we have to set the content view. So how the content view looks like, because we have already coded in a layout. So if we want to be viewed at the very first time, so this main activity should be opened up. If the main activity is opening, it should open the layout. So that layout is called using r.layout.activity main. So that R is kind of a repository where it stores all the, you can say, variable with their names, with their values, or any of the thing related to the Android coding, or you can say in the inside the project. So this R has a unique thing regarding the things. If we call R with the ID, we can simply use r.id. If we want to use R with the layout, you can use r.layout. So here you can see that we are using, we want to pass this content view as a layout. So layout was defined. So we have to just simply put R, that is capital R, dot layout dot activity name. So my activity name was activity main. So here you can see that. So this will be corresponding to the layout which is being passed as a parameter to the set content view. So after running this main activity at the very first time, it will be able to open this layout file, right? So let's take a look inside the activity main. This. So activity main is actually a XML file. So XML file, as you can see here. So this is the actual XML file of Android. So here you can see we have a graphical view of the Android, and we may also have a code level of this thing. So how we are able to view? So at the bottom, you can see that there is a two tabs. There are two tabs: design and text. In the design, you will able to view that how the UI looks like. Inside the text, you'll be able to view. So what is the text behind it? So as you can see here, let me. So as you can see here, so activity main also supports XML because the extension is in XML. So you have to start with the XML extension. So inside the XML extension, you will start with some layout. So how it should be laying. Inside the layout, we have some widgets. So if you are not, if you are new about the widgets, so simply you can avoid the text interface. You can go with the design interface, and here you can see that we have a different the widgets which are there inside the Android. So if you want a button to be there, so we have a button, we have an image view, we have a scroll view. Inside the text, we have text view, plain text, password, email, phone, and any of the text you want, right? If you want a button as an image button or a checkbox or a radio button or a switch button or a floating action button, you can simply just drag and drop all the things. So suppose if I want to add a button, so simply I will drag and drop where I want to desire. So here I want to desire, so simply drag and drop over here, so that button will be added. So here you can see some red exclamation mark is there, so that suggests us that this view is not constrained, so it has only a design time position, so it will jump to 00 at the rule less runtime unless you add some constraints. So here actually you can view this thing as this position, but due to its constrained nature, so this button will be run or viewed at the runtime as this. So you will be feel amazed that at the very first time I put the button at this position. So why it is showing at the this position at the very first corner of this application? It is just because of the layout. So if we go to the layout in the text mode, so here you can see a underline position of a button. So this represents that particular widget is in the error. So error is same that we have encountered in the design mode. So let us change the layout. So inside this layout, I will change layout as relative layout. So let me write you a simple thing. So if I am not able to recall what is a layout, so it has an IntelliSense inbuilt in this IDE and in the Android Studio. So simply you can press Control and space simultaneously one time. So you can recall all of the things which are there you want to recall. So simply put Control and space, you will get all the things. So here you can start with the relative layout. So you can simply scroll down or up according to your desire. So I want here as a relative layout. So simply highlight it and press enter. So here the relative layout is designed. So here you can see relative layout is designed. So we have actually removed this thing button error, which was in earlier, it was in error. So we have removed the error. So here the relative layout is having a property that how the layout should look like. So here you can see if we go back to the design phase. So here how the our application looks like when we are able to run it. So button is at the, you can say at above of the text view. So we have to push it down. So text view is there, button is there. So inside, let us discuss first with the text view attributes. So we have a layout and the height. So these two things are common with each you can say widget. So text view has its own layout, height and width. Button has its own layout, height and width. So we have things related to the value which is there for the width or a height. So wrap content means so the space which is required to adjust within that particular area as a width. So it will wrap accordingly. If you want to know about what are the attributes or what are the values which are by default which are there for the layout width, so simply use again control and space. You will have a much more intelligence like wrap content, match content, or Android or fill parent. So match parent means, so here you can see that the text view is under relative layout. So whatsoever the relative layouts has a width and height, so it will be able to match the layout width according to its parent. So here width is saying that it is having a match parent. So here if we call as a match parent, so it will adjust all the, you can say, width according to the parent. So parent is having a width alongside horizontally. So here you can see the highlighted one over the right side. So here you can see the text view is occupying the horizontal horizontal width full because of the property of the parent. If you want to squeeze it, that I want to constrain the text view within that particular area. So you can go with the wrap content. So the text which is like hello world, so how much is hello world is taking the space, so it will be wrapped up by using the wrap content inside the width. So here again the height is again in the wrap content because we don't want to increase the height of the text view. And another one, you can also suggest a hard-coded values also. So here you want to suggest as a width as say 500 dp. So or you can say 50 dp. So here you can see we have a 50 dimensions or 50 pixels of the text view. If you want to increase as 150, so you can see at the real time we have a 150 size of a text view. If you go for a 250, so again 250 is there. So you can also use a wrap content, match parent, or any of the desired value for a width or a height. So it only depends upon the design of application, that how you are actually running, or how you are actually viewing the UI. So here I'm just deleting it and go for the wrap content. So this thing I will delete, and I will also delete this thing. So same thing for the button. So width and height as a wrap content, and a text as a button. So this button has a name as a button, which is shown. So here I will say click me. So this text will be shown at. So here you can see that click me button is there, and that's a text over the button. So now you can see that this button is actually in the foreground of text view. So that is not actually the layout should like. It should be below the text view. So below the text view, we have to get the ID of the text view. So adding our ID inside the text view, you can just go inside the text view and you can just write ID. So it will suggest what kind of a thing you want. So the highlighted one, as you can see, ID, all the things. So it will be highlighted according to the partial information you are giving to the IntelliSense. So we want to add a new ID. So you can just simply press enter, and it will also suggest as @ +ID. @ +ID means you are adding a new ID. So we are also adding a new ID slash with the ID name. So ID name as say TV1 as TextView1 as a small name. So TV1 is a name, or you can say a ID given to a TextView widget, and this button name is given to a button widget. The question arises that how we can align button below the text view. So you can simply go inside the button part. You can just write as below. So here you can see it is suggesting that you can use layout below. So simply double click it, or you can simply click it. So Android layout underscore below with the ID as @+ID as TV1. So here you can see in the real time, so this button has been shifted below the text view of this, right? So here we can tell anybody that we have actually aligned our button below the text view. So text view has other properties also. We can also increase the text size. We can also bold or italic, or we can change the color. So if you want to increase the text size, so you can use inside the text view as text size with capital S, text size as say 20 dp. So here you can see in the real time it is according to a 20 dp. So if you want to change a color, so simply go for text color. So text color as say @color, or you can go with Android color as I want color to be red. So here it is a red. Or you can also suggest color as in a hexadecimal format. So if you want text as a in a red color, so go for hash, which denotes that it is a hexadecimal format, FF0000. So that's a red color, right? So or you can suggest any other color and click on this red square. So clicking on this, the color chooser will be opened, and you can click on any other color you want, right? So here is the color I want to be on the text color. So simply choose it, and in the real time, that particular color has a value as 2923 DC. So that's the color corresponding to this blue variant. So that will be corresponding to the text view, because you have just added the text color inside the text view only, right? So this is the main thing that will be regarding the first beginner step of the Android. So here you can see that we have a left panel, we have a middle panel, we have a right panel. So in the left panel we have a project structure, in the middle panel we have a editor, and the right side we have a preview of what we are doing, right? So if we are moving to the left side, so we have a Java, because all other things are written in a Java language. So inside the Java we have a package name as n9TTT_test. So inside the test we have a main activity. So double clicking it, it will open the main activity.java file. Inside the res folder, that is resource folder, we have multiple folder name as drawable, layout, mip map, and values. So inside the drawable we have some icons which will be able to use inside the Android Studio, or you can say inside the project. We have a layout folder. Inside the layout we have activity main.xml. So this is a activity main.xml file, and we have a mipmap file, and we have some values with the XML name as colors, strings, and styles. If we want to suggest more colors, so you can write a color with the color name as colors.xml file, and you can start with the strings.xml. If you want to suggest string to be stored inside the XML, you can simply name the string name and pass the value. And we have a style also, as in defining what kind of a theme we want to use, whether you want this title bar to be there or not, right? So these are the things which are there inside the Android Studio. So this is just a beginner level, that how the what will be the first Android interface that will be we are looking upon, that how it looks like and how the Android Studio, you can say, works. So later in this session we will talk about that how we can interact the UI with the Java coding. So in the later session we will talk about the binding of the XML and the Java files together, so that we can make our own Android application.